Thanks, Jared, for your really important voice in this campaign. Planning schemes aren't just about developments, buildings and regulations. They also offer a huge opportunity to make people's lives better. Anglicare Tasmania is a community organisation that provides services to Tasmanians throughout the state. Anglicare has a focus on social justice and is particularly interested in public policy that delivers better social outcomes for Tasmanian communities. To talk about the connection between social outcomes and planning schemes, I'm very pleased to introduce Meg Webb from the Social Action and Research Centre at Anglicare Tasmania.
Hello there everyone, and thank you Sophie for inviting me to speak tonight. I'm going to hazard a guess that there are probably two broad reasons that we're all here tonight. And I'm going to suggest that those two reasons are things we know and things we feel. What we know, I think, each of us here, is the value of the opportunity presented to this state in developing a new planning scheme. Whether our focus is natural environment or urban environment, the built environment, whether we're interested in culture and heritage or community wellbeing and social outcomes, I think that we know that reviewing, changing, recreating our state planning scheme presents us with a rare and valuable opportunity to make things better. Structurally, strategically better. That's what we know. The opportunity is there. But we're also here because of what we feel, I think. And what we feel, I'm guessing, is a bit of interest, a bit of curiosity, but also probably a good measure of concern. Concern that Tasmania is missing this valuable opportunity. I think that many here are feeling concern that Tasmania and Tasmanians are being shut out of this process and the consequences that may come from this missed opportunity. I also suspect that what we might feel is even some element of fear, that our lives, the lives of our family, our neighbours, our communities, might actually be harmed by this process instead of made better. This process that should be, making us a better state. I'm here as a representative of Anglicare Tasmania, and we've recently joined PMAT, which perhaps has a few people scratching their heads and wondering. You might wonder, what's Anglicare Tasmania doing getting involved in planning? Well, it's certainly not our core business. Tasmanian people and communities, especially those that are probably doing it toughest, are our core business. They're what we're interested in most. We deliver services throughout the state in a whole range of areas. We know from the work that we do that the social challenges which Tassie faces don't exist in isolation. They're very, very much connected. And because of that, we can't solve them one by one. We need to think of them holistically. Our view is that in order to meaningfully address the social challenges that we face as a state, we need to make especially good use of any connecting mechanisms that are presented to us as opportunities, things that provide a connected foundation to the way we do things here. Which brings me to ask, what is the planning system for? For most of us, planning is probably a strange and mysterious realm. There's some strange people out there I know who are deeply embedded in it. Most of us probably don't want to think about it in the normal course of events until it affects us directly. But it isn't just about the development next door or the proposed skyscraper or our frustration at trying to get our reno passed through council. The planning system can affect our lives, our community, and in quite profound ways. Planning has the potential to be the foundation of many aspects of our social and community outcomes. We only have to look to the past, at things like broadacre public housing estates, to recognise the ways in which the Tasmanian community has already been shaped and affected by planning decisions in this state. I'd just like to talk a little tiny bit about two examples of social issues which I think are relevant and probably good to highlight in terms of the planning system. I'm going to draw on work that we do at the Social Action and Research Centre to have a chat about those. I think they're good examples of the relevance of the planning system when it comes to delivering us better social outcomes. First one's affordable housing, very topical, gets talked about all the time. Most of you would have some views on that topic, maybe have some experience with it in different sorts of unpleasant ways. Every year in April, Anglicare Tasmania, the Social Action and Research Centre, does a rental affordability snapshot. We look at the properties available in the private rental market in the state and we gauge their affordability for households on low incomes. We consistently find that for people on low incomes, and when I say that I mean primarily people who are on government income support payments, we find that there are very, very few properties available in the private rental market that could be deemed affordable. Just to give you a little taste of what I mean when I say that, on the first weekend of April this year, when we looked at every property for rent in the state that weekend, we found that for a young person on youth allowance, there was not one property advertised that could be deemed affordable for them. Not one, including rooms in share houses. And it's getting worse. Why? Well, it's partly because we have a rising proportion of people pooling in the private rental market. We've got people from one end who can't get into home ownership. We've got people at the other end who are eligible for public and social housing, but we don't have enough of it for them. We have 3,500 people in this state waiting on our public and social housing waiting list. Half of those people are priority one. So here we are pooling the private rental market and stuck there. And we're getting our private rental market hollowed out by a range of things, including things like Airbnb, which is great for tourism, but which is problematic for private rentals. There are no silver bullets when it comes to solving our affordable housing situation, but there's a whole bunch of levers that we need to be using if we're to begin to turn it around, including our planning scheme. The planning scheme provides a range of opportunities to promote affordable housing, and we don't seem to be using any of them. The second issue I'm just going to touch on briefly is around food security. Not necessarily something that many people here in this room might think about very often, but SARC, where I work, was part of the Tasmanian Food Access Research Coalition a few years ago. We did a piece of research that found that there was a really strong association between family income and food access. The key aspect of that was actually barriers to getting to food. What we found was that around 10% of the people that were surveyed in that research in this state had difficulties getting to food outlets that had appropriate food. It highlighted a phenomenon that's called food deserts. In some Tasmanian municipalities, when food outlets are mapped, you find that many people have no food outlets in their local area. When the research mapped all Tasmanian shops which carried an adequate range of fresh fruit and vegetables, and that was mapped out throughout the state, it found that only 5% of those shops that had adequate fruit and vegetables were located in low-income areas. There are systemic structural barriers to food access and to food security for too many Tasmanians. And the research, as part of its recommendations, said that the importance of food security should be recognised in both the urban and agricultural land use planning schemes. So planning comes into every social issue we could probably poke our stick at. Those are just quick examples, but they do go some way to illustrating the depth and the breadth of the opportunity that should be here for us as we create the best possible planning scheme that we can in this state. Which makes me want to talk about what is missing. How is it that we as a state are letting this opportunity slip through our fingers? Firstly, I think the thing that's missing is a vision. Why, oh why, hasn't this process to date sought to articulate a vision for Tasmania? A high level, aspirational, community created and endorsed vision for Tasmania. And I'm sorry, but Fairer, faster, cheaper, simpler just doesn't cut it. Through an articulated vision, we should be able to see and know how the foundation of a statewide planning scheme is connected to the aspirations and the outcomes that we want as a community. Outcomes in health, in our economy, in education, for our families and communities, and in things like housing. The vision is missing in action, and we've got to find it. It's funny, when I try and recall any aspirational vision statements of recent years, the one that pops into mind is the declaration that we'd be the healthiest state by 2025. We currently got the worst health outcomes, but within the next 8 years we're going to have the best. All on the back of no strategic approach to achieve that vision. Funnily enough, international evidence says we've got to spend at least 5% of our health budget on preventative health to turn around long-term health outcomes. We currently spend less than 2%, and over the forward estimates, it's on its way down. Tassie, in this revisioning of a planning scheme, has an opportunity to think about health, actually. The Hart Foundation for many years has clearly and strongly articulated the need for a state policy, capital S, capital P, on healthy places and spaces. There is a place in this planning scheme for better health outcomes for Tasmania, for getting to that aspirational goal that we've articulated but haven't laid a path for yet. Where is our state policy on healthy places and spaces? Where is our state policy on affordable housing? So we're missing this vision. And the second ingredient we're missing far and wide is leadership. The challenges ranged against this state are significant in health, in education, in housing, employment, our economy, but there are also things in our favour, and Jared spoke about them really, really inspiringly. We're small and we're special. We have a brand. There's only 500,000 of us. None of us live that far away from each other, and the challenges we face are actually all connected. On top of that, we're a pretty damn creative bunch. So I think that we must be able to discover unique opportunities to tackle our challenges together. What do we need to leverage? Those advantages that we have to see that outcome. We need leadership. We need creative, courageous leadership. And happily, I think that some of that leadership is here tonight. And that is really heartening to see. Thank you.